promise anything, make you not believe in them. Politicians promise you, make you not believe in them. Politicians promise anything, make you not believe in them. Politicians promise you, make you not believe in them. Inside their mouth, truth to know day. Inside their eyes, corruption day. Inside their heart, wickedness day. Once they get into power, now when to time for gain, now in their brains, then we type one man will change. In the name of change, why? Change. They combine those with change. Politicians promise anything, make you not believe in them. Politicians promise you, make you not believe in them. If they say make you vote for them, make you look well. If they say make you vote for them, make you shine your eyes, oh.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you. Well, President Ahmed Tinubu became the president a couple of months ago, and I think it's probably a little bit early to start having some sort of a verdict on his presidency, given that he hang on, hang on, given that in earnest his officials are not imposed yet. His ministers and other people that are supposed to help him are not imposed yet. However, you alluded to two of the decisions that he has made recently. The first being the removal of the oil subsidy, and the second, the ministerial list that has just been published. They're both bold steps. First and foremost, when he came to power, he did promise the whole of Nigerians that he was going to abide by the rule of law. That means that he was going to ensure that the legal process, the due process, prevail in his administration. And part of his campaign promise, if you remember vividly, was that he said he was going to remove oil subsidies as soon as he came to power. And he lived up to that expectation by removing oil subsidy. I think we got to understand the politics of oil subsidies before we can start to um, discuss why this is the case or why this initiative needed to be taken. As you could go back to the 1977 Price Control Act, which promulgated all sort of control and brought about the power for the government to be able to fix the prices of crude oil and other aspects which the government is responsible for. Now, from what we've gathered so far, the so-called oil subsidy became abused by people who are very privileged in our society. It was abused to the extent that it was very difficult for us to know actually what we've been subsidized. And there were racketeering in the process. There were people making a lot of money at the expense of the country, and it encourages oil bunkering to a large extent. Well, uh, I know you've got a very short program, but these are very complex issues that require detailed analysis for people to be able to decipher what's going on. Emphatically, yes, I am in support of oil subsidy removal. I think it was high time it was done. People, like I said, were racketeering. People were abusing the system, and there were a lot of oil bunkering as a result, oil smuggling as a result, and we know what happened. The fact that the subsidies was on paper, in actual sense, people were making phantom amount of money, abusing the system, and that needed to be checkmate. A situation where people where quangos and parastatals were making more money at the expense of the citizens, And that in itself was absurd, and that needed to be addressed by the president. To the extent that he has done that, I think kudos to him. However, the ramifications of the removal of oil subsidy is what we need to be looking at. We know anything Nigeria, anything that is done in Nigeria is done in such a way that people take advantage of the situation. First and foremost, from my analysis, the removal of subsidies in itself should never, I repeat, should never have affected the price of the pump. It should never have affected the price that people are paying at the pump. What seems to be happening in Nigeria at the moment is that of lawlessness. Is the questions of individuals and parastatals going above what is expected of them. The laws as it states, I think I've lost you. I can't hear you. There seems to be a break in communication. But I'll just continue to express my views in anticipation that I'm still online and you're hearing what I'm saying. As I was saying earlier on before the break in transmission, the removal of subsidies is a good policy. It was a policy in the right place. And like everything else in Nigeria, the policy itself is not a problem, it's the implementation of the policy that gives rise to concerns. Now, the problem we have currently, particularly the borders on the removal of the subsidy, is such that NAPC, which has become a private company in its own right, seems to be operating above its legal remit in the sense that, according to the law, particularly in relation to the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, the NAPC has no power, has no remit to set the prices of the sales of oil in the country. The only person that has the power to be able to set the price that oil or petrol can be sold at the pump through the price control mechanism is the Minister for Petroleum. As you know, we currently do not have a Minister of Petroleum in place. That means that responsibility falls on the president to be able to set the prices of petroleum at the pump. But what seems to have happened, as you know, based on precedent and based on the fact that in Nigeria people just take into their hands the laws and do things that they are not supposed to do. NAPC on its own have decided to increase the pump price from, I think it was about 180 something naira when it started, to over 540 naira. Now we know it's over 600 naira.
Yeah, it's a shame. I want to test my microphone. I don't know whether this guy can hear me now. Kevin,
Yeah, I can hear you loud and
can
clear.
you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
You can hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe they can not hear me too. It's wonderful. So maybe I can let go of this tormenting stuff. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Daddy Chris, and this is the Politics Show right here on SRTV. You'll be seeing me every 8 o'clock every day, and this is what we'll do. We will look at the political situation in Nigeria. I'll be bringing you guests. Right there with me is Dr. Shas Morodio. He's a senior lecturer at the university here in London. Tonight, we're trying to look at the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the two major decisions he has taken. One is the oil subsidy, which is biting hard in Nigeria. Wonderful. It's biting us hard. I don't know whether you're feeling it, but is it the right thing to do? Dr. Shah seems to agree with him. And he's saying that the people are taking laws into their hands. So I want to finish this with Doctor before we move to the next topic. Doctor, you're saying that he has taken the right step. You congratulate him or you are applauding him for that. But at the same time, there's lawlessness in the place. And you brought us down to say, hey, it is now the responsibility of the president to act. So at this point, is this president, there's something John the Baptist said. Go and ask Jesus. Is he the one to call or should we wait for another?
No. I think it's early day yet. It's early day yet. We cannot assess his government based on these two bold steps that he has taken, or based on oil subsidies alone. Government is a continuum, and there's a raft of policies and a raft of measures that needs to be taken to bring us to where we want to be. I think for those who are close to the president who will listen to me now, the first thing they have to do is get to the president and let him start to add presidential. Presidential means that he can use his presidential power and put on an executive order and order the NNPC to revise the prices that they've set at various petrol stations. So he can call them to order and direct them, because there's no justification for increasing the prices. The subsidies in itself should not have led to the sort of things that we're witnessing. They said it is due to market forces, but market forces should be determined by factors that has to do with the demand and supply factor. But this is not about demand and supply. This is about people becoming like playing an oligopoly where few people or a cartel, few people just decide. NNPC, for example, decided to set the price. That shouldn't be the case. So the president, as a matter of urgency, should call the management of NNPC to order and invite them to Aso Rock, because he was voted in to alleviate poverty in the country, not to exacerbate poverty. So it is incumbent on him to hear the yearnings and the cryings of the common man who were before now suffering. So that
a very interesting slogan today in Nigeria: "Let the poor breathe." I don't know where that is coming from.
No. We need the poor and the rich. We need the poor and the rich for the country to be able to move on.
We'll come to that. But wait, please, I want to hold you here. You're saying that the price at the pump at the moment is not caused by the market prices, by the market forces. But let me put it this way: you live in the UK. The price of petrol at the moment at the pump in the UK is £1.40 something pound, 1.40 something pound. Say 1.5. And with the current exchange rate, that becomes 1,500 naira minimum if you're using the minimum you've been living. Yeah. So, and today the price is still half in Nigeria, and you're saying that it's not the market forces that is responsible. Then who is responsible? Are you saying that the president is so?
Even in UK, yeah, the petrol stations or the petrol dealers do not have the power to increase their price at the station beyond.
But this is another thing, doctor. If this is the price, because currently it's still cheaper in Nigeria than in the UK. Are you saying?
Well, you got to look at the standard of living. You got to look at the standard of living. You got to look at the power parity.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying that if you are now trading on the look, if the government says no subsidy, meaning the petrol should go into the Nigerian market as every other product.
But the subsidy itself was a fraud. The subsidy itself was a fraud. That's why they need to remove it.
I'm taking you on the fact that you said that it is not the market forces that is responsible.
No, it's not. It is not the market forces. It's NNPC that decide to hike the price overnight. And they have no power under the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 or under the Price Control Act 1977. They have no power to do so. They are ultra various. Their rules.
That's a legal term. All right, doctor. Let's quickly, because two things concern me tonight, and I said I want to be here for only 30 minutes, guys. We're gonna be here for 30 minutes, and we're gonna let it be. However, I'm going to do something quickly with Dr. Charles. Doctor, still on President Ahmed Tinubu. Quick one. Today or yesterday, we had the ministerial list, at least from 25 states. Straight on, are you impressed?
Well, it depends on what you mean by impressed. I'm
You
impressed.
know, there's this movie I watched. Are you happy with me? Are you happy with the president?
I'm impressed that he's been able to come up with a list.
Okay.
And I'm impressed that we are not looking at.
After how many days?
Well, he acted within the law. The law required him to put his cabinet in place within 60 days, I was told. That's the legal requirement, and he produced that within the time. You got to understand how complex Nigeria is. Issues of ministerial list are things that you have to look at very carefully. You have to balance the Nigeria factor, ensure that every
I am worried.
Every state in our country is represented.
Let's go straight, Doctor. I have some interest. Wike is on the list.
What's wrong with Wike?
Wait a minute. Are we not recycling the same people? Let me finish. Because Wike is there. We have this ex-governor of Ebonyi State. He must have looted the state dry. And then we have El-Rufai. El-Rufai is my man, but to come back as a minister. Hello, are there no other people in the country who could have done this well?
Well, first and foremost, with ministers, you need people with experience.
Okay.
You need people that can hit the ground running from day one. You need people that know how government works. And the names of the people you've just mentioned, these are seasoned politicians, they are seasoned administrators. So they know how the organs of government work. So they'll be able to, I'm not sure the portfolio that has been given to them yet. They still have to go through the Senate and the rep and so on and so forth. But in terms of the list of the people that has been submitted, they are very experienced people. So you can't fault that. If experience is the key to ascending to ministerial positions, then that aspect is fine. However, if you are saying that, why is it that we seem to be recycling the same people? Why is it that we're not giving opportunities to new people to come to the fore? And with innovations and creativities and ability to do things, we need a degree of new impetus. We need to be able to bring in new blood. We need to bring in people who will be able to infuse new enthusiasm, new way of looking at things. Then if you're saying these people that has been identified, people who have served in various capacities in the past, the two you've just mentioned, both of them have served in capacity as a governor, and one as administrator of Abuja, and Wike has served in one of the top as a governor at the same time. I think he was formerly a minister, if I'm not mistaken. So to bring these people on board at this stage, we have a reason to worry, because it means that the younger generations and people who have fresh ideas are not given the opportunity. But in terms of credibility, ability to deliver, experience.
I'm going to hold you there, sir. So if Doctor made 2 points. One, I only mentioned 3 names. Wike, El-Rufai, the Ebonyi man. 3 things I said. He said, well, that on a good day, these are experienced people, so they hit the ground running. On the other hand, these guys, we are recycling them. Let's go on the break. When we come back, we'll continue.
It's politics time on SR TV with your one and only host, Dr. Chris.
We all must be part of the governance. So join Deddy Crease every day 8 p.m. to dissect on the political situation in Nigeria.
8 p.m. every day, as this is where we're going to dissect the political situation in our country called Nigeria. Tonight I'm with Dr. Shason Monobio, and we're looking at the early days of President Ahmed Tinubu. We're going to do more of him here. He's the president. He has a heart. He got to deal with us. And one thing I want to say is, I don't know, I started this broadcast and I started with it, and I just want to say, political illiteracy is the worst kind of illiterate you can ever be. You cannot be in a country and you don't care how you've been governed or how your affairs is being run. It's like you say, come and take me, put me in prison. Take my wife if you want. Because it's the government that give you marriage certificate. It's the government that give you an international passport you use to travel. The water you drink is influenced by government. When there is disease, they can decide to put everybody at home, like what happened with the case of COVID. Government is powerful. Next to God is government. I use the word, next to God is government. How could you not be taking part in it? If that is noted, then one important thing I want to say, I know during the Nigerian election, we were running up and down, we want to get the best. But at what time do we stop, or do we really actually help our government to do what we want? It's not during elections, it's after the elections. What I'm surprised is after Nigerian election, everybody goes to sleep. Oh, we can do nothing now. But this is actually the time we can do something. We need to follow them up. We need to ask questions. Why is this? They need to give us information how we've been governed. That's something we like. We need to start doing so now. I mean, right now. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's incumbent on these people, somebody like you and myself and other people who are in the known, to be able to educate the electorate and the general population as to the responsibility. Often what happens is when people are elected into high offices and they start to do whatever they want to do without recourse to those people that elected them or appointed them or recommended them into those high offices. Yes. So the onus is on you and myself to be able to sensitize our electorate, our citizenry, and empower them to understand that they still have a role to play once the government is in power. We have the role to be able to lobby, we have a role to advocate, and we have a role to influence policies, implementation, policy formulation, and policy directions. And the best way to do that is for us to be able to engage the system, engage those who are elected, and ensure that they listen to us. It's not just a question of calling town hall meetings where people are talked down or are spoken to, and actions are not taken based on the feedback from those town hall meetings.
So Doctor, what's your message to every Nigerian? Because today I think we're in a unique state. I really wanted to address a very important issue with you tonight. I don't know what I'll have that, but let's quickly do that before you go away. Because you live in the UK, and our minimum wage here is 1,000 something pounds, which is about 1.something million in the naira. Yet, in Nigerian government is still saying that the minimum salary for a civil servant should be 50,000 naira
a month.
If you live in Abuja, the cost of your rent, now with the current transportation, are we not enslaving our own people? In my analysis of slave trade, I said that when the white people came to take us away, they took us away. The only way we cry slavery, the only reason we're crying is because they didn't pay us the normal wage. Had they paid us, we would have followed them to come and work in Europe or in America. They refused to pay us, so we call it slavery. What is the difference between that and what is happening in our country today? That our own government is enslaving us to work as slaves.
I think it's more complex than that. You have to look at the economic aspect of it. You have to look at the impact of inflation. I do agree with you.
So this is a country where a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria earns 10 times the salary of an MP in the UK. And you are telling me that are you saying this lack of like what you said?
I think that aspect this is a different set of argument.
Okay.
The disparity between the salaries of the senator and the elected, and perhaps the civil servants who are the brain workers who are doing the job, is very, 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 very wide, and that needs to be addressed. I do not understand why the senators are given the power to be able to fix their own salary, I think what needs to happen, we need to have like a watchdog, a body that is responsible for fixing the salaries of senators and sort of those high places. If you not want to fix their own salaries by themselves.
In the UK, this is just way out of order. I don't think we need one watchdog that's going to cost us a lot of money.
Even in UK, an average MP earns about between 40 to about 100,000 a year. Yes. An average UK citizen earns less than £20,000 a year. So there's still a disparity. There's still a disparity there, but it's not ridiculous, not as ridiculous as that of Nigeria.
Doctor, I'm happy you defended the Nigerian system, which is good.
I'm not defending it. I'm explaining
it. Well, it's the same because for me right now, I just want our system to break down because I don't agree with it.
No, we're going to look at the impact. You look at what's happening in the UK at the moment. You can see the prices are going up because they're trying to control. It depends on which ideological bent you are. If you're looking at microeconomic indicators, you're looking at ability to control inflation, hiking salary in Nigeria places. As soon as you increase salary, every other person increase whatever it is they're selling. The tomatoes seller will increase their price.
Exactly.
We're back to where we start.
By the time the price of fuel goes up and salaries doesn't go up, how do people go to work?
We just said about the price of fuel. I think Mr. President has been slow. I'm not sure people who are advising him, and I'm not privy to the information they have. I think at this very early stage, you would have been expecting him to still be in the good books of the electorate. And the fact that the electorates are not getting worried, and some of the things we're hearing on the street is not encouraging. So my advice is for those people who are privy to have the ears of the president, you let him know that, look, the initial policy he's taking is biting those that is supposed to be helping. The idea was that we try to remove corruption from oil subsidy by removing subsidy. But in doing so, it has become a punitive measure that is not adversely affecting the common man on the street. You also need to understand how important petrol is to Nigerians. In a place where average Nigerians have to generate their own electricity, both for their own private dwellings and as well as to run their business. So everything else depends more or less on petrol and diesel to be able to propel their
put it that way, their gen as well.
Their generators and so on and so forth. So those things becomes very, very, very difficult. But it is not too late. Mr. President can still control NNPC. All he needs to do is the president, he can issue executive order, and that executive order will direct NNPC to peg the petrol at a certain point. And he can declare a state of emergency on petroleum prices, and that will be acted on within 24 hours. He's got presidential power to do so.
Okay. Doctor, you know what? I said we're going to be here for 30 minutes. We are way past now, but I would just, maybe we should give ourselves another 4 minutes to do this. And I'm going to go to a very, very important area. Maybe you can explain to us, doctor, because he's a doctor, he's knowledgeable, he does his research, so I'm going to ask him the most difficult question of my time. I'm going to use myself as a case study. When I'm in the UK, I obey the law. And when I get to Nigeria, I misbehave. Doctor, is the same me that doesn't obey the law in the UK and in Nigeria that obeys the law in the UK? Why?
It's culture. It's culture. The fact is that the culture in the UK.
Are you saying it's not the same me? It's not the same me that lives in the UK?
It's the culture that prevails in the UK, and you know that the culture in the UK is that if you fall foul to the law, you will be punished.
Good.
Regardless of who you are.
Is that a culture?
It's a culture. It's a culture. Culture, but when I say culture, I'm looking at the way of people living, the norms, the values, the custom, the tradition, laws, and that shape people's behavior and their enactment within a particular geographical area. Is the cultural problems that we have in Nigeria. The fact is that even by
Doctor, this is difficult. So I'm going to show it to you. Are you saying we lack the good culture or the civilized culture of obeying the law?
no, the culture is such that the laws are not enforced.
Okay.
The culture
So
is such
that's a different thing. Because if you talk of our way of life, that the laws is not informed, doesn't mean we are not normal people. Because
no, we are normal, but we have normalized bad things. We have normalized bad behaviors. We have normalized at various behaviors. We have normalized things that other society would frown at. For example, you just said about yourself, when you go to Nigeria, you behave differently. And when you are in UK, you behave differently because of the cultural, it's because of the culture, it's because of the cultural environment. In UK, you know if you break the law, you are going to be held accountable.
This is what I in other words, I like this. I don't want to trace that to culture. It gets down to one thing you just said now. If I'm in the UK, if I break the law, I will be held accountable.
Yes.
But in Nigeria, 90% get away with it. So
that's the culture. The traditions and the culture of Nigeria lend itself.
The same. The rudiments of the law are the same. It's just that
no.
Get away with it here. Doesn't mean like okay.
The implementations. Okay, the law in terms of the enactment of the law, the written law, the common law that regulates the conduct of everyone in UK and Nigeria are almost mirroring the same, because everything is based on the UK common law systems, which we inherited through our colonial experience, and we've been changing those to a large extent. But our common law still mirror that of the United Kingdom. What is different is the attitude towards observance of that law, is the attitude towards the supremacy of that law. For example, in UK, a policeman can arrest the prime minister.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Good.
That is the law. So the law, when the policeman arrests the prime minister.
Our culture then, because I have so much to ask you tonight. Probably time is not on our side, but I'm going to ask one question. A policeman in the UK can arrest the prime minister.
Of course.
In Nigeria, a policeman is like a slave to the senator, because
that's the value
of them on one vehicle. They are riding, they can shoot up and down, misbehaving, running behind. Even when we know some of the politicians are village fools, then we guide them with guns. The society, in fact, policemen are meant to guide people, not to guide senators.
Well, what is happening is that you got to look at.
No, the question is that a culture thing?
There's a gentleman that did a lot of work on this sort of area. It's called Ofsted. Okay. And Ofsted came up with theories that explained why this is. The power distance between the common man and those in power in Nigeria is very wide.
What is the UK, what is this? Explain that.
What I mean by power distance is that the degree to which the people at the top control the people at the bottom is a lot wider in Nigeria. But in UK, the power distance is narrower. So, and as such, it means that...
When you say power different, are you talking of the economy? Because you say power, for me, power is...
No. When we're talking about power distance, we're talking about the capacity to be able to control things, the capacity to be able to enforce law, the capacity to give respect to people, unduly deserve respect to people based on their positions, the way they exact this power, the way they exercise this power, the way they control their subordinate, the way they look at their subordinate as servants rather than people who are supposed to be respected. So the power distance is what is playing out. And above that, because people in positions of power in Nigeria tend to abuse their positions, and as such, the law enforcement agency, like the policeman, for example, have no power to exercise what is written under their contract that they could do. And that's because of our culture, because our culture condones that sort of behavior. Our culture condones the behavior where...
I want to take you quickly back, Doctor. Before the white people came to Africa, we have the kings. The kings were enforcing laws. There was you don't hear this kind of things. If you misbehave,
there were no checks. The kings did not have any checks and balances. The kings were law themselves. They were law themselves.
Yes, thank you. But the most important thing is there was rule of law, sir.
I think what we need in Nigeria, and not just only in Nigeria, in Africa, we need cultural orientation.
Okay.
We need people to be able to.
Maybe we need forefathers who laid down the good principle, because before the white people came, we were obeying our own laws. The kings, they made laws. There was a way they were judging our cases. Things were running smoothly. You might call it abuse of power. I don't agree, because what is important was there was kind of democracy. Because democracy for me is a system that runs smoothly. There's rule of law. You can't do this.
Feudalism and they also have their own weaknesses, you know.
I agree.
There's no such thing as perfect system of government. But having said that, in my view, the system in our country is not allowed to work the way it is designed to work.
Okay.
Unless we start to address those structural imbalance in our systems, those such structural problems we have in our system, where
that brings me to the question then. That brings me to the final question to you, sir. Is President Tinubu the one we are waiting for, or should we wait for another? Because we've been talking about, we'll be counting things.
It depends on what you mean
by
very
simple things. Okay, let me put it this way. If as of today, our ministers are still carrying 8 policemen behind them, senators are carrying 10 policemen to serve them, whether the ordinary citizens on the street there's no police on the streets.
When I understand and I empathize with your views.
Is this president doing what he's supposed to do? Let's not be sentimental about it.
No, I'm not being sentimental. I just feel that the man has not even done 100 days in the office.
But it's a litmus test, all right? Because if I become the president of Nigeria, I should have one thing in mind. Hey, this thing is wrong. I want to wipe it. He was straight on to say,
it's a gradual process. Rome was not built in a day.
Sir, I hear you.
It's a gradual process. It started well.
Now you look at how you define our system. That is our culture to be corrupt. It's our culture not to obey the law.
Well, it's a cultural problem. It's the norms. It's the value system.
No, we don't have that value. We don't have that value. It's not our value not to obey the law.
No, it's the value that we enact, is a value that we promote, is a value that we exhibit, that permeates every aspect of what we do as a people. For example, if you drive past a policeman on the traffic, you are expected to give money to that particular policeman. But if you choose not to give money to the policeman, the thing is that the policeman can hold you ransom for quite some time and disturb you. And people around you will be saying to you, oh, why don't you just give him money and then drive off? It's a culture. Until the day when our people rise up to the realizations that the systems that we're currently operating, the culture that we're currently operating does not work for us. And we need a cultural orientation from primary school upwards to imbibe idea of values, ideas of rule of law.
Which culture? You said we don't have the right culture. So what culture are we going to pass on to the people? Meaning we have a good culture. We are not following our culture. Is that the right thing to say, or than to say we don't have culture?
Like I said,
if you say we can imbibe the right culture, meaning we already have the right culture, meaning we know what is right and good, and what is good and bad.
Of course.
So meaning we have the right culture, sir. The truth is, maybe out of influence or some things are not making us to do the things the right way. Perhaps that is the right way to do, but to say that we don't have the right culture.
The culture is there. The culture is there. But what we lack is the enforcement of good principles, good moral values. We tend to become very sentimental when we are discussing issues of this sort. These are very complex issues. These are things that have ingrained in us over a period of time and has become part and parcel of the way we do things. It is the norms, the value, is the way we see ourselves. It is things that it is sort of the silhouette that glue our society together. It are things we allow to happen to us. These are things we condone, which other society may not condone. Let me give you an example. In places like Japan, if a head of a parastatal fails and that company fails, the head of that parastatal on its own will commit suicide because he or she feels he has let down a lot of people. But in Nigeria, if somebody fails and steals money, they celebrate him and say Babake. So these are cultural norms, cultural values that we have inculcated over a long period of time.
I think we're going to have a lot of time to come back. Doctor, I'm going to have you back tomorrow. Because tonight I said it's going to be 30 minutes. We're already 45 minutes into it. Oh, already 15. We're going to be 15 minutes soon. This is not where we're going to go. We're going to keep it. We're going to keep it low. Thank you, Doctor, for joining me. I'm going to have you tomorrow, please, because we really need to look at specifically what President Tinubu has done, right, and what he has done.
But in my view, he has started well. Okay. But there's made a mistake. There's been a mistake in the sense that he has not used his executive order. He should have done executive order to direct NNPC to reverse the excessive hike in petroleum in order to cushion the impact on the common man. It's still not too late. He can still do it to reverse that. But the idea of removing subsidies is a welcome one. In terms of the ministerial list, it's still early day yet. Let's see what happens. You remember some of these things, these are political appointments, these are political patronage. And what tends to happen is that after election, politicians will share positions to people that supported them to rise to their positions of power. But you never know. He can reshuffle his cabinet 6 months' time, 3 months' time, 4 months' time. Let's just give him a breathing space.
Well, thank you very much, Doctor. That's a very good place. Let's give the president a breathing space. The same way they're saying, let the poor breathe. Dr. Shah said, let us give the president a breathing space.
Well, at the same time, we also need to be speaking to people close to the president so that they can talk to him, so that he listens to the poor people and alleviate their poverty. Because at the end of the day, a president alone cannot make Nigeria.
No, Doctor, this is. You see, I'm happy the president took responsibility. He said he asked for the job, he better deal with it. So I don't want to feel sorry for a president who asked for a particular job. In any case, I'll listen to you. I'll continue to listen to you, Doctor. I am impressed. Thank you very much for this
pleasure.
Time, and I hope my audience will be happy to see you again and again.
All right. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Daddy Chris, and this is Politics Time on SRTV. Tonight, I really wanted to make it so brief. We talk straight, we deal with very small issues, and we go, because it's the first show. Tomorrow, we're going to be analyzing critical issues. We might look at the economy, what we expect the Nigerian economy to look like. We look at policing, which is something that I'm really close to my heart. And we look at the way we do business in Nigeria and the image of the country itself. All these are one or two things we'll do politically right here on this show. My name remains Daddy Chris, and this is because sometimes I have this don't mind me. My system doesn't allow me to misbehave. It does what it does. So sometimes I have to on my screen. So when you see me do this, don't think I'm misbehaving. I wasn't trying to jump at you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank those of you that joined me tonight. Kevin, how you doing? Audio is super now. Thank you very much for always keeping me in check. And I want to thank Kenneth and Umar. Listen, we're going to keep this show simple. It's going to be very important that we, as a people, we hold our government accountable. We need to hold the federal government accountable. We need to hold the state government accountable. We need to hold the local government accountable. It is our job to do so. In fact, they need us to hold them accountable. You're not helping them if you don't say what is right or wrong. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to, but there's a legitimate way of putting things. And if we don't do that, then it is our own fault. The government of Nigeria has failed us again and again. It's enough time. Enough is enough. It's time to say we can't live with this anymore. And like I said, I reason why I cannot tell how or why a senator has 8 policemen, and on the street there are no policemen. What are you guiding the senator for? What is he running from? I have been in the UK for some time. I don't see anybody. Man. And I'm going to come back to the issue of national wage, the minimum wage. It's a disaster. So that's why Nigeria will have all kind of stupid job. And I gave instance to people in the UK. I've been here for so many years. I've not seen anybody with a personal driver. Do you know what? Not because you don't want to, because you cannot afford it. Quote me. You don't have a driver, not because you don't want to have a driver, because you cannot afford it. You know how much you pay a driver? Because human beings are not treated as slaves in this country. In Nigeria, we still have slaves. Somebody opens the gate for you, that is his job, because he's your slave. He probably live with you. Why don't you just take his wife? Ladies and gentlemen, it can stop. Not because of us, but for the future generation. We can only copy good things and imitate good things. We cannot continue to say this is our culture, like Dr. Charles. I refuse to accept what Dr. Charles said in terms of cultural things, because back in the day, there was not so much equity, but there was rule of law in our land. If a president or if a society must move forward, or one of the most important things about democracy is rule of law. And I hardly hear a president talk about rule of law. At every level, if the law says this as civilized people, you must do it. But are we uncivilized? Because the modern civilization code is built on rule of law. You see, I may not like the law, but this is what the law says. And what I must do, I must obey the law. If I don't, it's a place for me. It's prison. That's how it works. For that to happen, we must let go of our policemen. Policemen should not and must not be serving senators. They must not be serving members of our governors. They are meant to serve us. The number of policemen serving politicians in Nigeria are more than the ones serving the citizens. It's unacceptable. I've never seen anywhere in UK where an MP have a policeman. Who are you? Who are you? A British police with his red uniform walking behind you. Who are you? But look at what is happening in Nigeria. It get to stop. Ladies and gentlemen, I come in peace because you're going to get a lot of my ugly statements on this show. That's why my name is Daddy Chris. And I want to really use this opportunity to thank Dr. Charles again for joining me. It's a wonderful time. And like I said, we're going to stop today. I will be back here tomorrow when I will be more settled. Because I said, let me just introduce the show tonight. Tomorrow I'll be more settled to rock the brain out. And I'm going to bring Dr. Charles back because we're going to look at how we can hold the government accountable. And you and I have so many ways we can do that. In fact, you can create a job by just holding the government accountable. If you don't have a job, I always said, if I'm in Nigeria, I don't have a job, then I'll be holding government accountable because they are responsible why I don't have a job. So that becomes my job. And that's what we're going to do on this show. My name is Daddy Chris, and this is Politics Show right here on SRT. Stay with me.
It's politics time on SRTV with your one and only host, Daddy Chris.